Introduction to the Night God Under the Moon. Create a divine statue, gather faith, refine divine power, and step on the divine throne. There is no God in the world, but as many people believe, there is a God. This is a story without cheats. This is a story of ants becoming gods. QQ Communication Group. 132775895. Chapter 1. Divine Stick. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Young Hauran, who happens to be 30 years old this year, was named by his parents in the hope that he will have a noble and upright demeanor when he grows up. He is not expected to have many skills, at least not to become a cancer of society. His parents have little education, so they spent a few New Zealand dollars in a basket of eggs for a teacher to choose this name, but not a teacher, but a fortune teller. The fortune teller said that he was short of water when he hit the target, and adding the word "how" made up for it. His parents thought it was very reasonable and thanked him, so young Hauran's name was decided accordingly. However, young Hauran's parents never dreamed that when his precious son grew up, he not only lacked the integrity of Hauran, but also embarked on a path of deceit and deception, relying on pretending to be a god to make a living. If they found out, they would have to kill this unfilial son. This world is called the New World, which is a large and magical world. The county where young Hauran is located is called Lekang, which is a relatively poor small town. It is precisely because of poverty that more people believe in ghosts and gods than some big cities. This is one of the reasons why he chose to stay in this city after wandering for more than 10 years, because his customer base here is relatively wider. There is another reason why young Hauran chose to stay in Lekang. He was originally a local of Lekang, but not from the county town, but from a rural area within Lekang. In today's world, there are far more people who do not believe in ghosts and gods than those who believe in them, which makes young Hauran's business very sluggish. After all, he lacks real talent and knowledge, relying solely on his mouth and pretending to be a ghost. He can attract very few customers and earn limited rewards, so naturally it is difficult to move forward. However, there is a large population in this world, and although there are far more people who do not believe in ghosts and gods than those who believe in them, there are still quite a few of them in terms of quantity. Young Hauran himself also knows that there are talented and knowledgeable masters in their field, and their income is still considerable. Sometimes, a single payment can be enough for someone like him to eat for several years, but he does not have the ability or dare to take on such a big job. What he dares to take is almost always a feeling of een. The word Guan sounds a bit mysterious, as if it is very powerful, but if you know what Guan is, perhaps no one will think it is very powerful. The so-called sensation of een, to put it more professionally, is to use one's own body to sense whether there is een energy in the area where one is located. To put it more bluntly, it is whether standing there will feel cold. The former still sounds a bit mysterious, while the latter is like a slap in the face, just standing there feeling cold or not, in young Hauran's opinion, everyone knows. In the eyes of experts, true een sensation exists and its effect is not small. However, when it comes to young Hauran, this prodigy, the taste completely changes. In addition to feeling een, young Hauran also exorcises ghosts. Of course, this is just in the eyes of outsiders, because he knows in his own heart that his so-called exorcism is burning a pile of paper money, lighting 3 incense sticks, lighting a pair of red wax, and then the gods nag and recite a lot there. Often, he doesn't even know what to recite, and sometimes he even brings in swearing words without realizing it. He relied on the tricks he learned from the movies, combined with his superb acting skills, to truly act like a master, watching the house and exorcising ghosts for others, playing with a sense of style. Although he hasn't been in this industry for a long time, he is still somewhat famous on their street, and everyone knows that this guy is very talkative. As for whether he has the ability or not, everyone has their own opinions. Young Hauran rented a small storefront in Lekang, selling not funeral supplies, but rather a small convenience store with a variety of miscellaneous items. In theory, he has entered his current profession and selling funeral supplies is more suitable, which is more worthy of his identity. However, he did not do so because his heart is also empty. Despite his appearance as a master of exorcism in front of outsiders, he actually has great reverence for ghosts and gods. He dare not sell those things because he still wants to live here. The small storefront was divided into two areas by Yang Haoren. The outside sold a variety of things, while the inside was his residence, separated by a green curtain in the middle, which was very green. This market was originally small, and after being divided into two areas, Yang Haoren's residence naturally became smaller. Inside the green curtains was a wooden bed and a folding small wooden table, on which there was an electric rice cooker and a pair of bowls and chopsticks. This pair of bowls and chopsticks doesn't say much. They are very ordinary and don't have much use except for eating. However, this electric rice cooker is different. Its function is much stronger than this pair of bowls and chopsticks. It can not only be used for cooking, but also for cooking, boiling water, making hot pot, and so on. Due to his poor family background, Yang Haoren dropped out of school at an early age. At the age of 14, he was forced to leave his hometown and wander. Over the past decade, he has experienced many hardships, but he has also learned a lot. Of course, as a frugal person, he has also saved some money. This money is not much, but it is his hard work and sweat, so he cherishes it very much. He didn't dare to use it recklessly in the bank, and prepared to save enough to buy a house in Lekang, then find a daughter-in-law to live a good life, and bring his parents into the city to embrace his grandson and enjoy happiness. In order to achieve this goal as soon as possible, he has been working hard and saving a lot, which is why his accommodation is so poor. However, so far he still has a long way to go towards this goal. No matter how frugal he is, the money for buying a house is still far behind, which is not the most fatal thing. What's even worse is that he doesn't have a girlfriend right now. A clever woman cannot cook without rice. A single dog who doesn't even have a girlfriend is useless in planning for the future. It's like a computer, where the system is the latest, but the configuration is so poor that it can't be played directly. Yang Haoren's current life is like this. He has a lot of ideas. However, without awesome in hardware, it's hard to do anything. Fortunately, this guy has also experienced ups and downs, and he is only disappointed but not desperate about it. He even works even harder to achieve his goals. Today, Yang Haoren, as usual, runs a small shop, waiting for business to come to his doorstep. He sat in a chair, sliding his phone and intentionally or unintentionally covering the screen with his hand. He watched with great interest and was lost in thought, not knowing what he was looking at, as if he couldn't see the light. It was precisely because he was so engrossed in the sight that he didn't notice anyone approaching. Suddenly, one hand appeared and snatched the phone from his hand. Yang Haoren was watching with great interest when something like this suddenly happened, which startled him. He immediately looked up in front of him. At some point, a handsome young man appeared in front of Yang Haoren. Judging from his appearance, he was probably in his 20s. At this moment, he was happily looking at Yang Haoren, with a handsome face that even men could understand. In broad daylight, your child is so surreptitiously mesmerized that he wants to put his eyes into the screen. Which teacher has made you so addicted that you don't even care about time and place? The man smiled and then looked at the phone in his hand. Yang Haoren saw this and did not snatch the phone. He just looked at the man with disdain, without any other action. From Yang Haoren's reaction, it can be seen that the man and he should be familiar, otherwise the man wouldn't be so reckless, and Yang Haoren naturally wouldn't let the other party act recklessly. "Che, I thought you had something new to discover, but I didn't expect you to be looking at all these nagging things." The smile on the man's face, which he understood, disappeared, and he threw his phone to Yang Haoren sitting in the chair with a dull expression. He thought that Yang Haoren was sneaking around looking at something indescribable, but he didn't expect that what Yang Haoren was browsing was actually various materials on defeating demons and eliminating demons. Naturally, he lost interest. After all, he had never been very fond of ghosts and gods. Young Haoran glanced at the man and continued to slide his phone, speaking with a mature tone. You know shit, do you know what it means to never tire of learning? Do you know what it means to learn forever? Although you and I have some skills in exorcism, I never thought I was invincible in the world. One mountain is higher than another. Learning more is only beneficial for me without any harm. Young Haoran's words were flawless, with a precise expression and tone. Not to mention the man in front of him, even he himself was deceived by these words, thinking that he was a master of exorcism and a person of great ability. I can't even deceive myself, how to deceive others? Since entering this industry, this sentence has become Young Haoran's motto, constantly reminding him and inspiring him. In terms of exorcism, Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.net, Young Haoran originally did not have much ability. He had never even seen what ghosts looked like. The reason why he was interested in reading these exorcism materials was twofold. Firstly, because of his interest, secondly, because of his current profession, he does not learn these exorcism tricks from the internet. He uses them to deceive others, regardless of whether these methods online are effective or not. As long as he uses them well, it is still possible to deceive people, and what Young Haoran wants is so simple. The man was taken aback by Young Haoran's words, and then reacted with a smile and cursed, "You guys pretend to be gods and ghosts all day, acting like a semi-immortal. If you really have the ability, when will you show me how to behave? If you really can show me ghosts, I won't be able to call you Brother Young or Grandpa Young in the future." Young Haoran cursed at the man in his heart, but there was no expression of dissatisfaction on his face. He still had his old and mature demeanor, pretending to look down at the information on his phone while speaking calmly. The distance between us is like a mountain. If you don't understand, I don't blame you. Tell me, what's the matter with you? My friend has bought a new apartment and he heard me talk about you before. He's planning to trouble you to come and take a look. As soon as the man finished speaking, Young Haoran, who was sliding his phone, suddenly stood up. He put his phone into his pocket with his left hand, and quickly took out a pack of cigarettes from his right pocket with his right hand. He smiled and handed the man a cigarette, saying, "Smoke, smoke first." As he spoke, Young Haoran noticed that the man's buttocks were empty. He apologetically slapped him and personally placed the chair under his buttocks, saying, "Look at me. I haven't even noticed this detail in my research on exorcism. You sit down and smoke a cigarette, and we'll talk about it later. By the way, what kind of drink do you want to drink? Is it still the same?" Chapter 2. Love Saint Guan Hai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Young Haoran's sudden enthusiasm did not surprise the man, but he sat down on the chair under him with a carefree expression. As soon as his buttocks fell off, the man jumped up and spoke discontentedly to Young Haoran, "You're so hot. Do you have hemorrhoids? Will they be contagious?" Normally, when the man spoke these words, Young Haoran would definitely mock him. But now, not only did he not mock the man, but his enthusiasm did not diminish. He quickly took out a cushion and placed it on the chair, saying, Look at me. I'm always so careless. What I should have thought of was that I ignored it because you were too excited to come." The man chuckled and didn't burst, then sat down again satisfied, crossing his legs and smoking a cigarette leisurely. The man's name is Guan Hai and he claims to be the Sage of Love. He is one of Young Haoran's good friends in this city. He is 25 years old this year, 5 years younger than Young Haoran. He doesn't know what kind of virtue he has accumulated in his previous life. He has a naturally handsome appearance and an outgoing and eloquent personality. Especially in front of women, his mouth is like a machine gun, spraying not bullets, but all of his mother's Cupid arrows, making those girls scream and scream. Plus, the originally handsome face is very popular among girls. However, Guan Hai is very promiscuous. Young Haoran and Guan Hai have known each other so far, and he can't even remember how many girlfriends Guan Hai has changed. What's despicable is that these girls are still like moths flying towards Guan Hai's embrace. Any girl who falls in love with Guan Hai almost knows his brilliant achievements in the love world. When Guan Hai is not around, they all curse happily, wishing to kill this scumbag, eliminate this social cancer, and swear that they will never have any contact with this scumbag in their lifetime. However, the reality is that once these girls come into contact with Guan Hai, they all love him so much that they want to give him their hearts. Some girls, in order to be with Guan Hai forever, even threaten him with their own lives, such as jumping off buildings, cutting their wrists, and drinking pesticides. All of this seems like dog blood to Yang Haoran, but it makes him both envious and jealous. Compared to Guan Hai, Yang Haoran's appearance is ordinary and his figure is also ordinary. It's hard to compare with Guan Hai. The three characters, Gao Fu Shui, are all present in Guan Hai, except for the Fu character in the middle. However, Yang Haoran, who is very happy, does not have any of the three characters. Yang Haoran is not wealthy, and Guan Hai is not wealthy either. Every penny Yang Haoran uses is hard-earned by himself, and it is the result of his efforts and sweat. Every penny used by Guan Hai was also hard-earned by him, and the result of his energy and sweat. However, the sources of their wealth were fundamentally different. Yang Haoran's wealth came from outsiders, both men and women. Guan Hai's wealth comes from his own people, all of whom are women around him. The women around Guan Hai are willing to spend money and support him, which is very shameful to Yang Haoran. However, he has to admit that this is also Guan Hai's ability, and not all kinds of men can do this. Moreover, how much better could he be as a villain, deceiving and deceiving others? Both of them are birds of a feather, so there is no right to accuse each other. Birds of a feather flock together, and if two people can become good friends, it's not just because fate is so simple. The key is that their personalities get along well with each other, and both of them are poor. At this moment, Guan Hai was lying on the chair with a stinky butt, crossing his legs and leisurely smoking. Yang Haoran took a bottle of Mengnan brand functional drink from the shelf and happily handed it to Guan Hai, saying with a smile, "Mengnan brand, the stronger you drink, your favorite." Guan Hai shook his head and didn't take the drink handed over by Yang Haoran. He spoke seriously and said, "I heard that drinking too much of this drink can easily lead to functional impairment, so I quit." Upon hearing this, Yang Haoran laughed and said, "People say that mobile phones emit a lot of radiation. Why don't you put your phone in your shirt pocket and insist on keeping it in your pants pocket? If it mutates due to radiation, it's hard to say whether it's good or bad." Although joking, Yang Haoran still took back the Mengnan brand functional drink and handed Guan Hai a bottle of mineral water. Guan Hai took the mineral water and not only didn't get angry with Yang Haoran's words, but also gave him a rich smile, as if I understood you. He said, "Your driving speed is getting faster and slower, I can't resist it anymore." Upon hearing this, the two of them looked at each other with a smile, and everything remained silent. After Guan Hai unscrewed the bottle cap and took a sip of water, Yang Haoran rubbed his hands, smiled obsequiously, and asked, "Do you want to smoke another cigarette?" Guan Hai glanced at Yang Haoran and said, "We only treat guests and don't kill chickens. You haven't even taken out a cigarette, so it's clear that you didn't mean to invite me to smoke another one. In this situation, should I say yes or no?" "Ah." Yang Haoran slapped his thigh fiercely, as if he had just woken up. He quickly said apologetically, "Look at me. I really didn't pay attention to the details, and I didn't notice it again." As he spoke, Yang Haoran immediately took out another cigarette from the cigarette box and pretended to pass it to Guan Hai with both hands. "Get lost, it's not like we just met. Don't pretend in front of me anymore, let's get down to business," Guan Hai scolded with a smile, not taking the cigarette handed over by Yang Haoran. Yang Haoran chuckled and naturally put the cigarette into his mouth, lighting it up and taking a deep breath. Amidst the smoke, Guan Hai explained the details of this business to Yang Haoran. Originally, a friend of Guan Hai bought a house in Lekang recently and spent several $100,000 Singapore dollars. Now that the house has been renovated, he could have moved in directly with his bag. However, this friend of Guan Hai believes in ghosts and gods and forgot to see his husband before buying a house. He wants to make up for it later so that he can feel at ease when living. After learning about this matter, Guan Hai immediately took over the job for Yang Haoran and praised him fiercely in front of his friend. He praised Yang Haoran as one of the rare masters in the world, who could tell fortune, observe feng shui, subdue demons and eliminate demons, communicate yin and yang, know life and death, and be extremely powerful. He spoke in a divine and precise manner, and heard that his friend was extremely excited. On the spot, he sincerely troubled Guan Hai, "Be sure to invite this master to his house for a seat." For this friend's request, Guan Hai certainly had no reason to refuse. He patted his chest to ensure that there was no problem, so Guan Hai immediately rushed to see Yang Haoran. The matter could have been explained clearly by a phone call, but Guan Hai decided to go there in person. There was no other reason. The main reason was that he was too idle. He didn't have a job at all. He just ate, drank and had fun on weekdays. Today, he didn't have a card friend appointment. He simply went there in person when he was free. After a detailed understanding of the matter, Yang Haoran quickly ran to the green curtains without saying a word. After a moment, he came out with an additional yellow cloth-sewn shoulder bag. The front of the bag was sewn with a tai chi, and the back was sewn with a gossip, which was very eye-catching. This shoulder bag is Yang Haoran's tool for committing the crime. Oh no, it's a ghost-catching tool. The bag is bulging inside, obviously containing a lot of things. Walk and walk, since it's your friend, even if I'm busy, I'll take some time to go over. I can't lose your face. You quickly call him and tell him that Master Yang will arrive soon. Don't panic, let him know that everything belongs to me. Yang Haoran rushed out with a shoulder bag on his back and said to Guan Hai in a hurry. Looking at Yang Haoran, who was pretending to be serious, Guan Hai couldn't help but laugh and said, "Thank you very much, Master Yang, for giving your brother such a big face. But I really didn't see where you were busy, and..." As he spoke, Guan Hai pointed to the green curtain cloth and smiled, saying, "Also, can you change the color of your fig leaf? It's all green now. Don't you feel anxious when you look at it?" Yang Haoran did not directly answer the question of Guan Hai. Instead, he pulled down the rolling shutter door and casually said, "It is not only a fig leaf, but also a beautiful scenery in my life." The rolling shutter door was shut with a loud clatter, and Guan Hai smiled and joked, "You're really getting more and more poisonous. You're not even letting yourself go. You're such a ruthless person." Yang Haoran smiled and did not answer the question about Guan Hai. After locking the roller shutter door, he stepped into Guan Hai's sedan. The sedan in Guan Hai is very good, it seems to have cost over 300,000 Singapore dollars. Of course, this poor guy in Guan Hai cannot afford such a lot of money. The sedan was given to him by his ex-girlfriend on his birthday. I don't know what kind of intoxicating soup Guan Hai has poured into that girl. Even after breaking up, this beautiful and wealthy girl still remembers Guan Hai. Not only did she not return the car, but she also bought a lot of branded clothing for him afterwards. Even after the breakup, she didn't think Guan Hai was a scumbag, but instead took all the responsibility on herself, saying that it was her fault and she was the one who apologized to him. If Guan Hai could change her mind, she would be willing to exchange everything for it. Not long ago, when Yang Haoran met this woman by chance, he almost fainted from anger when he heard her say this to him. This woman is really foolish once she becomes foolish. Sitting in Guan Hai's car, Yang Haoran couldn't help but feel a little emotional. This person, why is the gap so huge? They are all damn poor, why does Guan Hai live so beautifully, even if the scenery is only superficial, but sometimes it doesn't seem bad, does it? In fact, Yang Haoran knows the answer to this question without thinking. Guan Hai lives more comfortably than him, shuttling back and forth among the flowers every day with ease. This is completely a problem with his mother's configuration. From birth, in terms of appearance, his configuration is not as good as Guan Hai's. He is a high.n configuration, while he is a low.n configuration, which is very hurtful, but it is reality. However, young Haoran still has confidence in himself for the time he has put in his mouth. In terms of speed and skill, he believes that he will never lose to Guan Hai in this regard. If given the opportunity, he even wants to compete with Guan Hai. Of course, this so-called verbal effort refers to speaking, how to speak, what kind of words to say when encountering someone, how to control one's speaking speed, how to grasp skills, and so on. When young Haoran sighed, he almost had a crooked idea. Chapter 3. Your home toilet is wrong. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Under the leadership of Guan Hai, young Haoran arrived at his friend's house, who had already been waiting at home. He had already gone to work, but after receiving a call from Guan Hai, he took a leave without any delay and immediately rushed back. His friend's surname was Lu, with a fat head and big ears, a bald head and a few mischievous hairs on both sides. However, he was forced to grow old by this big brother surnamed Lu and had a hairstyle, hoping to cover the bald part in this way. However, everything was in vain, just hiding one's ears and stealing the bell. It was all so miserable, it was better to shave off the bald head directly. Perhaps this big brother surnamed Lu has a different sentiment towards his hair due to his baldness, so they would rather maintain it in this way than shave it all. After all, what they can't get is always in turmoil, and the less they can get, the more they want it. Many people suffer from this hair disease. After a conversation, young Haoran also gained some understanding of this man surnamed Lu. This man is 31 years old, only 1 year older than young Haoran, but he looks more than 10 years older than young Haoran. Perhaps due to staying up late and the pressure, he looks very old. In fact, these have nothing to do with the theme of coming here today, but young Haoran still has a detailed understanding of why he did this, and there is naturally his reason behind it. After a conversation, young Haoran wandered around the house of the man surnamed Lu, carrying his hands behind his back and swaying his 8-character steps, taking a look at all the rooms in the room. Guan Hai and a man surnamed Lu followed behind young Haoran. Young Haoran didn't speak, just walked and watched. Guan Hai, on the other hand, constantly praises the good layout and excellent decoration of the house owned by the man surnamed Lu. The meaning of the words is implying both inside and outside that the man surnamed Lu bought the house well. As for people, 9 out of 10 like to listen to good words. The man surnamed Lu is not a saint, and he is no exception. When Guan Hai praised him, he couldn't help but smile happily. He kept praising Guan Hai for his young age but his vision, insight, and ability to see problems with precision. His words were even more logical. Young Haoran listened to the two people behind him praising each other, his face remained calm, but his heart greatly despised them. This is a 3-bedroom, 1 living room apartment, and it didn't take much time for young Haoran to explore it. To be honest, young Haoran wandered around the house of the man surnamed Lu and did not feel any inexplicable coldness on his body. In this regard, the house is still relatively clean. However, this is not the time to tell the man surnamed Lu that he has finally made a deal. If he doesn't get any benefits, he will have wasted his trip today. He is a person with professional ethics, and this is not his style. When he returned to the living room again, the man surnamed Lu immediately welcomed him. He wanted to see something from young Haoran's face. Seeing young Haoran's serious expression without saying a word, although he had a smile on his face, there was a hint of unease in his eyes. "Master Yang, look at my room," Lu asked tentatively. Young Haoran did not speak immediately, but instead frowned and remained silent. This reaction made the man surnamed Lu feel a sense of unease in his heart, and he suddenly became a little anxious. "Master Yang, is there something wrong with my house?" asked the man surnamed Lu. Yang Haoran glanced at Guan Hai and then his gaze fell on the anxious man surnamed Lu. He did not continue to remain silent and finally spoke up. Mr. Lu, since you are Guan Hai's friend and 1 year older than me, I will call you Brother Lu. Yang Haoran answered the question in a serious manner. The man surnamed Lu was so anxious in his heart. He wanted to know if there was anything wrong with his house, not to hear such nonsense from Yang Haoran. However, this man surnamed Lu has not lived in vain for the past 31 years. Although he thought Yang Haoran's words were nonsense in his heart, he dared not speak them out and instead refused them repeatedly. I can't do it, Master Yang. You're a master, you're my brother. You call me Brother Lu, but I can't bear it. Yang Haoran waved his hand, exuding a master's demeanor, and continued, it's just a title. Brother Lu doesn't need to be too particular. Let's talk about your house. The man surnamed Lu originally wanted to refuse, but as soon as Yang Haoran talked about the house, he stopped talking about it and quickly asked, what's wrong with my new house? Yang Haoran pointed to the restroom and spoke to the man surnamed Lu, Brother Lu, do you have any problems with your restroom? Upon hearing these words, the man surnamed Lu quickly walked towards the toilet and carefully checked it. It seemed that he didn't see any reason, and he didn't know where the problem was. However, he tentatively asked Yang Haoran, is it because I installed the wrong squatting toilet and need to install a toilet? The man surnamed Lu's words almost made Yang Haoran laugh, but fortunately he had great restraint. Not only did he not laugh, but his expression remained serious. On the other hand, Guan Hai behind him grinned and showed a white tooth. Under the gaze of the man surnamed Lu, Yang Haoran shook his head and walked a few steps towards the door, pretending to be deep. Then he pointed to the door and sighed softly, explaining, Brother Lu, your toilet is facing the door. This is not a good thing, it is a feng shui taboo. The man surnamed Lu felt a thump in his heart. The 4 words, feng shui taboo, were very scary to hear. He looked anxious and wanted to say something to Yang Haoran, but was stopped by Yang Haoran waving his hand. From his expression, Yang Haoran could tell that Brother Lu probably didn't even know what he was saying, so he continued to explain, the toilet is a place for excreting filth, with extremely strong yin energy and a concentration of bad luck. The door facing the toilet will affect the fortune and physical health of everyone in this residence. May I ask, Lu and your family, have you been working smoothly recently and are you healthy? The man surnamed Lu didn't even think about it and immediately responded, everything is good. My luck is pretty good, and my family is not a problem either. Yang Haoran's lips twitched slightly, and then returned to normal. The reason why he asked the man surnamed Lu in this way was actually full of tricks. Previously, he had a conversation with a man surnamed Lu and had some understanding of his situation. He knew that the man's parents were still alive, and the man surnamed Lu was already 31 years old. Since his parents were still alive, it is highly likely that they are in their 50s or even older. At this age, it is normal for them to have some health problems. Furthermore, human fortune is an elusive existence. No one's fortune will continue to be good, and there will always be some problems. Even if the fortune of a man surnamed Lu has not been any problems recently, his family's fortune cannot all be good, right? Yang Haoran thought this way in his heart. Asking the man surnamed Lu was just digging a hole for him to jump off, but what he didn't expect was that the man surnamed Lu's answer gave him a fierce slap in the face, which was a burning pain. However, Yang Haoran is not a vegetarian either. Since he dares to eat this kind of food, it is definitely not possible without 2 brushes. If even this small problem cannot be solved, then he should not wander in this circle. Maybe he can change his profession earlier. He remained calm and had a serious smile on his face. After hearing the man surnamed Lu's answer, he nodded and spoke earnestly, it seems that the situation is not as bad as I thought. You should feel fortunate that you have just moved in, so it has not affected you and your family. This is a good thing, but if this matter is not dealt with, it will be difficult to say in the future. How should we handle it? The man surnamed Lu quickly asked. Well, it's not a hassle to deal with, it just requires something, and then. Yang Haoren hesitated and deliberately slowed down his pace. The man surnamed Lu immediately understood the situation, smiled obsequiously, took out a red envelope from his shirt pocket, and happily stuffed it into Yang Haoren's shoulder bag. Yang Haoren furrowed his brow lightly, but his heart was filled with joy. Not only did he not show a smile on his face, but he deliberately blocked it with his hand a few times, exclaiming in surprise what he wanted. This made it impossible to wait for excuses, but the hand that blocked the red envelope did not exert much force. In the end, the red envelope was forcibly, stuffed into Yang Haoren's shoulder bag by a man surnamed Lu. When receiving red envelopes, it is always the most crucial time. If one expresses their joy on their face at this time, the image of the expert they have worked hard to shape will be completely destroyed. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. Seeing Yang Haoren, trying his best, to stop him, the man surnamed Lu suddenly thought to himself that his red envelope was too small, but upon closer examination, it was not right. Yang Haoren did not look at the red envelope from beginning to end when he refused him, and when the two had physical contact, Yang Haoren did not touch the red envelope. In theory, in this situation, Yang Haoren should not have known how much money was actually sealed in the red envelope, and how could he have despised his small red envelope. Just as the man surnamed Lu was feeling puzzled and somewhat embarrassed, Guan Hai beside him spoke up. Yang Gu, you know, Lu Gu is my friend. Although we have only known each other for 2 days, Lu Gu has a great appetite for me. We are all kind-hearted people, so please don't bother and be honest. Guan Hai's words were quite skillful, resolving the embarrassment of the man surnamed Lu. At the same time, he secretly emphasized to Yang Haoren that this friend surnamed Lu has only known each other for 2 days, so you can do whatever you want without being in the middle. As long as it's not too extreme, everyone can get by. Yang Haoren naturally understood the meaning of Guan Hai's words and knew that Guan Hai spoke at this time to ease the embarrassment of the man surnamed Lu. However, Yang Haoren still had confidence in his abilities. Even if Guan Hai didn't speak, he could still make the scene go on perfectly, without making the man surnamed Lu feel embarrassed or losing his demeanor as an expert. It was the man surnamed Lu who, seeing Guan Hai speaking so bluntly at this moment, couldn't help but feel a little moved in his heart. He felt that he had made a good friend and immediately cast a grateful look at Guan Hai. He also punched himself in the chest and said with emotion, "Good brother, brother indeed did not see the wrong person. In the future, as long as you need it, you can speak up." Chapter 4. Acting and Complete Set. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After receiving the red envelope, Yang Haoren naturally had to solve the trouble for the customer. It was actually quite easy to solve the problem, but in order to make the man surnamed Lu feel that the money was not in vain, he naturally had to show his lip service. That's just deceiving, trying to deceive. Don't worry, brother Lu. Since I have promised Guan Hai, I will definitely handle your matter properly, Yang Haoren assured the man surnamed Lu. Upon hearing Yang Haoren's words, the man surnamed Lu immediately burst into a heartfelt smile and kept thanking him. Yang Haoren remained unsmiling and waved his hand, realizing that the man surnamed Lu had already expressed his gratitude and there was no need to continue. The man surnamed Lu understood and immediately closed his mouth. Solving this problem is both simple and difficult. The reason why it is said to be simple is that you only need to find a curtain to cover the toilet door, bead curtains or curtains are fine. As long as the toilet door is covered, the dirty air inside the toilet will not leak out. At this moment, Yang Haoren possessed a divine stick and spoke confidently. The man surnamed Lu looked puzzled and then hesitated, as if he had something to say but dared not. Yang Haoren noticed the reaction of the man surnamed Lu and furrowed his brow slightly. He asked, "Brother Lu, feel free to say anything, don't hide it in your heart. I'm here to help you solve the problem. Not only will I help you solve the problem with the house, but I will also help you solve your doubts, so you don't have to be polite. Upon hearing Yang Haren's words, the man surnamed Lu breathed a sigh of relief, then pointed to the toilet door and spoke weakly, Master Yang, look, my toilet has a door. Can't this door isolate what you call filthy air? Yang Haren cursed this guy in his heart for being troublesome, but his expression remained unchanged. He calmly explained, the filthy gas is not an ordinary gas, so ordinary means cannot stop it. Your toilet door can isolate all the odors inside the toilet, but to block the filthy gas, special means are needed. And the method I just mentioned can block the filthy gas. The man surnamed Lu seemed to understand, but Yang Haren took advantage of the heat and continued, the reason why the door cannot face the toilet is because the door can bring good luck to the owner, which is commonly known as luck. Once the filthy atmosphere of the toilet collides with this luck, it will affect luck. In severe cases, it can even turn luck into bad luck, leading to poor luck for the homeowner and family. Do you understand now? The man surnamed Lu nodded quickly, as if he understood, but whether he understood or not was probably only clear to him. Brother Yang, what you just said was just the simple aspect, and what's the difficult aspect? Guan Hai spoke at this moment, grasping the time very well. Yang Haren praised in his heart, but let out a low sigh and said, the difficulty lies in nailing 3 long nails above the toilet door. These 3 nails may seem like they are used to hang bead curtains or curtains, but there is a lot of attention to detail. If you don't understand the tricks behind them and act recklessly, not only will you be unable to solve the problem, but it may also make the problem even more serious. As the words fell, Yang Haren, under the gaze of Guan Hai and the man surnamed Lu, rummaged through his shoulder bag. After a moment, he took out 3 long nails from his bag. The nails were ordinary and had nothing special except rust stains. Don't look at these 3 long nails, they are rusty. They are good things. They are the household nails that I have refined through special techniques and have a miraculous effect on restraining this filthy aura. As long as you nail these 3 household nails above the toilet door, even if there are no hanging bead curtains or other objects, they can still block the filthy aura. If you hang bead curtains or other obstructions, the effect will be even better. At this moment, Yang Haren had fully entered his role. He carefully handed over 3 so-called town nails to a man surnamed Lu, who looked frightened and quickly grabbed them with both hands, afraid of neglecting them. Meanwhile, Yang Haren searched his shoulder bag repeatedly and took out an object. The thing Yang Haren took out this time was a compass. After taking out the compass, Yang Haren scrutinized the wall above the toilet door while carefully observing the compass. He continued, town nails are treasures, but only by nailing them in the right position can they maximize their power. Otherwise, I will waste these 3 precious town nails. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Haren's face lit up with joy, and his eyes flashed brightly as he said, I've found it. Guan Hai didn't know why, so the man surnamed Lu became even more confused. Yang Haren ignored the 2 of them and put the compass into his shoulder bag. He then took out a pen from the bag and said to the man surnamed Lu who was staring at him for a moment, take a stool over. The man surnamed Lu responded without even thinking, and immediately took a stool and handed it to Yang Haren. The latter stepped on the stool and made 3 marks above the toilet door with a ballpoint pen in his hand. 3 homestead nails, just nail them in these 3 positions. I have just looked at them with a compass, and these 3 positions are the best. Only these 3 positions can fully unleash the power of homestead nails. Yang Haren said, retracting the ballpoint pen from his shoulder bag and jumping off the chair. The man surnamed Lu was awakened by the sound of Yang Haren jumping off the chair, with a smile on his face and a grateful expression. Thank you very much, Master Yang. You have solved a huge problem for me today, said the man surnamed Lu. He took out a cigarette and handed it to Yang Haren, then personally lit it. He also handed it to Guan Hai next to him, personally lit it. In the end, he finally lit one for himself. The 3 of them swallowed the clouds and exhaled mist, and the room suddenly shrouded in smoke. The play is not yet finished, so young Haran naturally won't play half the show. If he wants to play, he must play the whole show. This way, spending money is comfortable and receiving money is also comfortable. Why not do it? Although it was unclear how many red envelopes the man surnamed Lu had stuffed into his shoulder bag, whether it was more than the full set or less than half the set, young Haran was prepared to play with the full set because he was a principled person. To be honest, Brother Lu, your house is pretty good. I wandered around your house before, seemingly looking around, but in reality, I was feeling gloomy. Young Haran took a deep breath of his cigarette and slowly exhaled, speaking seriously. The man surnamed Lu became interested and quickly asked, Master Yang, what is this sensation? Young Haran chuckled and said, feeling gloomy is just to see if there's anything dirty in your room. Congratulations, there's nothing dirty in this room. The only thing that's not beautiful is your bathroom. As long as you follow my instructions, knock 3 homestead nails in, hang pearl curtains or similar things, and your apartment will be perfect. In the future, if you work hard and don't sit, eat or wait to die, your days will definitely get better. I promise. As long as this person works hard, except for not encountering any major illnesses, the days will naturally get better and better. It's just that this has nothing to do with his mother's house fixing. However, at this point, the man surnamed Lu has already been tricked and believes in Yang Haran's deceit. In addition, Yang Haran's words are also well spoken, making the man surnamed Lu laugh uncontrollably and unable to close his mouth. Upon seeing this, Yang Haran felt that the play was almost done, so he decided to end it. Getting to know each other is fate. Let me take a closer look at your apartment so that you can feel completely at ease, Yang Haran said. Upon hearing these words, the man surnamed Lu became even more delighted. What is this? Is it an additional gift of service? Yang Haran didn't talk nonsense either. He was smoking a cigarette in his mouth and took out the compass from his shoulder bag. He then held the compass and carefully inspected the entire house, with a clear appearance and occasionally nodding his head. This inspection took half an hour to complete. Half an hour later, Yang Haran put away his compass and took a deep breath. A rare smile appeared on his face, but it seemed very tired. I have confirmed again, Brother Lu, there are absolutely no other issues with your house. You can truly feel at ease now. Yang Haran said, looking tired. Brother. Oh no. Master Yang. Brother Yang. Thank you. Thank you so much. As he was so happy, the man surnamed Lu was a bit incoherent. He enthusiastically held Yang Haran's hand and exclaimed, I will book a seat at the restaurant right away. Let's go now. Tonight, I must thank Brother Yang well. We won't go back until we get drunk. It was already evening, and it was time for dinner. Yang Haran intended to refuse, as he felt somewhat ashamed in his heart. He took someone else's money, ate their food, and drank their wine. He felt that it was not very kind, but before he could speak, the sound of Guan Hai began to ring. Okay. Wine is a good thing. If you want to strengthen our relationship, you have to drink. Guan Hai had some ideas in his mind. Yang Haran knew that if there were only the two of them, he would inevitably satirize and ridicule Guan Hai. However, in the current situation, it is obviously not possible, just like before when Yang Haran was busy with business, Guan Hai would not go to dismantle his platform. Helpless, Yang Haran could only agree. The man surnamed Lu carefully put away the 3 town nails and the 3 of them left, heading towards their destination. The man surnamed Lu was driving his own car, and Yang Haran naturally took Guan Hai's car. As soon as he got on the car, Yang Haran had not even spoken before Guan Hai excitedly said, Hurry up and see how much Lu Gu has sealed for you. Yang Haran also had this intention. Seeing that Guan Hai was even more excited than him, he gave him a blank glance and didn't say much. He took out the red envelope from his shoulder bag. Before opening the red envelope, Yang Haoren's face changed as he just pinched it. Then, with a bitter smile on his face, he threw the red envelope directly to Guan Hai and said, "I'll give it to you. After all, you took care of this job for me." Seeing Yang Haoren like this, Guan Haidun was taken aback. The red envelope was thrown to him before it was opened. Yang Haoren, whom he knew, was not so generous unless seemingly thinking of something. Guan Hai picked up the red envelope and gently rubbed his fingers, and his face suddenly changed. Chapter 5. Tacit Agreement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although he already knew what was going on, Guan Hai still didn't give up and opened the red envelope, taking out 100 yuan worth of new currency. That's right, there is only 100 yuan in the red envelope. Guan Hai has already opened the entire red envelope, and there is nothing inside except for 100 yuan. "I'll go, it's not particular." Guan Hai complained, but instead of getting angry, he had a wry expression. Yang Haoren smiled helplessly and said, "I thought this Lu brother was very sophisticated. It seems that I overestimated him. I have been in this industry for a while now, and I have at least 200 red envelopes. I was planning to have 100 with you, but now I'm in trouble." Since Yang Haoren started this business, Guan Hai has brought him a lot of business, and he has a small reputation on their street, which of course cannot be without Guan Hai's contribution. As long as it is a business introduced by Guan Hai, he will share the remuneration he earns equally with Guan Hai. Although he lacks money and likes it, he never lets his friends suffer. Just now, he just pinched the red envelope and confirmed that there was only 100 yuan inside, so he gave it all to Guan Hai. With only 100 yuan, it shouldn't be 50 yuan per person. That would make him too petty. However, Guan Hai did not accept this 100, but threw it to Yang Haoren and said, "You've been busy all afternoon, and it would be unfair of me to accept this money. Although this business was introduced by me, I didn't expect this Lu brother to be so stingy. What a mistake." Seeing Yang Haoren holding money and wanting to pass it to him, Guan Hai continued, "He wants to treat us to dinner tonight. I will definitely take my portion back, and then I will take him to my bar to consume. This way, I will make up for my losses, so you don't have to worry about me losing." Yang Haoren smiled at the words, without any affectation, and put the 100 yuan into his shoulder bag. The car started and the two of them headed towards their destination. Along the way, Guan Hai drove the car and smiled at Yang Haoren, saying, "I can see now that you don't know anything at all. I have also followed you in handling such business multiple times. Although your routine is different each time, I always feel that something is wrong. Can you honestly tell me that you don't know anything? Are you completely acting?" Upon hearing this, Yang Haoren did not reveal the embarrassment of being exposed for lying. Instead, he looked at Guan Hai with disdain and snorted coldly, saying, "Humph, you are an ordinary person with ordinary eyes. How can you understand your strength, Yang? You think that even if you are smart, others are fools. If I had no real ability, I would have been scolded as a scammer. I'm afraid my small shop has been smashed many times, but have you ever seen me being scolded as a scammer? Have you ever seen anyone come to my small shop to cause trouble?" Yang Haoren's question immediately made Guan Hai's smile awkward. Indeed, he had never seen anyone scold Yang Haoren as a fraud, nor had he ever seen anyone cause trouble at Yang Haoren's shop. Moreover, among the people Guan Hai knew, those who had asked Yang Haoren to do things seemed to have a good impression of him, and some even respected him. From this perspective, Yang Haoren did not seem like a fraud, at least among the people he knew. However, Guan Hai felt that Yang Haoren was probably pretending to be a ghost. He had no evidence and was completely intuitive. In the environment he was currently in contact with, the existence of ghosts and gods was already elusive. It was not easy to find evidence of Yang Haoren pretending to be a ghost. Without any evidence, Guan Hai could not refute Yang Haoren and could only smile to conceal his embarrassment. Guan Hai no longer continued this topic, and Yang Haoren did not hesitate to embarrass him. When interacting with friends, it is often necessary to grasp a certain degree. No matter how good the relationship is, one cannot be aggressive and unreasonable, even if it is a joke. If one goes too far, it will leave a knot in the other person's heart. Moreover, Yang Haoren knew very well in his heart that Guan Hai was not wrong. He didn't have much ability in the first place, and his small fame was all earned through acting. If he were really asked to subdue demons and eliminate demons, he would definitely run faster than anyone else. However, when dealing with the housing of a man surnamed Lu today, Yang Haoren was not entirely deceiving the other party. Some of the statements were false, while others were true. The mixture of truth and falsehood made it even harder to identify the problem. The restaurant where the man surnamed Lu ordered food was just a very ordinary one, with a small area and poor environment. However, the man surnamed Lu gave himself a good excuse. The taste here was good, so he chose this place. As for whether money is not important at all. If Yang Haoren had never been to this restaurant for dinner before, and if he didn't know how much money the man surnamed Lu had given him today as a red envelope, he might still believe what the man surnamed Lu said at this moment. But now, he just smiled and didn't speak. Guan Hai opened a small bar on this street, not far from this restaurant, so the two of them have also visited this restaurant before. To be honest, the taste of this restaurant is very average, not as delicious as the man surnamed Lu claimed. The only advantage is that the restaurant charges very cheap. Yang Haoren and Guan Hai both knew this in their hearts, but neither of them pierced through this layer of window paper. Both of them were laughing and couldn't see any dissatisfaction. The drinks and dishes were served, and the atmosphere was not harmonious. None of the three went to comment on the taste of this restaurant. Yang Haoren and Guan Hai did not mention the red envelope, and they kept it to themselves. Guan Hai is young and mature. Although he may not be considered an old fox, he has his own methods and principles in dealing with people. He dares to call himself a saint of love and can shuttle freely among the flowers. Without any skills, he cannot do it. And Yang Haoren has been struggling in society for over a decade, experiencing many ups and downs. Although he cannot compare to Guan Hai in terms of picking girls, he still has his own way to survive in this world. The reason why he didn't mention the red envelope issue and was able to get along well with a man surnamed Lu was just not to make the other party embarrassed. This man surnamed Lu is stingy, but he has his own circle of friends and doesn't want to tear his face with him, leaving a good impression on him. Then Yang Haoren's customer base will expand a bit, and maybe this stingy guy can help him establish his reputation and attract more business. Once you have a showdown with the other party and accuse them of being stingy, the final result will definitely not be very beautiful, which will make everyone feel embarrassed, and even split up in one go. It may even offend someone because of this, which is completely unnecessary. The way smart people deal with things is to try to have as many friends as possible and as few enemies as possible. As long as the other party does not encounter their own principled issues, eating a little loss can be considered nothing. Perhaps eating a small loss can bring greater benefits to oneself in the future. In Yang Haoren's view, anyone is useful, even a fool is no exception, the key is to see how one uses it. Moreover, fate is a magical thing. If the other person has something to ask of you today, perhaps you will have something to ask of them tomorrow. People who have not experienced it may scoff at it, but Yang Haoren has truly experienced it and left a deep impression on him. Therefore, under normal circumstances, he generally does not stop the situation unless the other person is unaware of the good or bad. Despite being full of alcohol and food, the man surnamed Lu drank too much, but Yang Haoren and Guan Hai remained unchanged. It wasn't that they drank less alcohol than the man surnamed Lu, or that the man surnamed Lu had a poor tolerance for alcohol, but rather that Yang Haoren and Guan Hai had a good tolerance for alcohol. In the face of average alcohol tolerance, this man surnamed Lu may be decent, but in front of Yang Haoren and Guan Hai, his alcohol tolerance doesn't seem very good. After settling the bill, the three of them spent more than 600 new coins in total. If it were a man surnamed Liu who was sober and had spent so much money, he would inevitably have to ask his boss and say some nonsense about whether the accounts were not calculated correctly. However, after drinking too much, he had completely transformed into a person, generous and generous. Little money. Hee hee. Little money. Happy today, this little money is nothing. The man surnamed Liu chuckled foolishly as he settled the bill, without even blinking his eyes from beginning to end. In fact, this restaurant did not deceive three people. Although the food in their restaurant is cheap, they drank a lot of alcohol, so the price naturally cannot be cheap. Yang Haoren and Guan Hai are aware of this, but it is uncertain whether the man surnamed Liu is aware of it. Walk and walk, I just heard from brother Guan Hai that he has a bar nearby. It's rare for him to be so happy today. Let's go to brother Guan Hai's bar again and have a good drink. This guest is still my treat, and no one of you should compete with me. The man surnamed Liu held Guan Hai in one hand and Yang Haoren in the other, feeling very intimate. Those who didn't know thought the relationship between the three was so close. Watching the man surnamed Liu go crazy at this moment, Yang Haoren was moved by the scenery and couldn't help but think of his past self. Looking back, he was frugal and even reluctant to buy a decent piece of clothing. However, once he got together with friends, he would spend money recklessly, rushing to pay in various occasions and spending money like pouring water. Often, he was frugal for a long time, and paying the bill would consume everything. Perhaps in the eyes of some people, Yang Haoren's initial actions were a manifestation of honesty, but some may feel that this is a pathological mentality, pretending to be coerced, seeking a sense of existence, and not wanting others to ignore or look down on him, so he puffed up his face and became fat. When these behind-the-scenes discussions reached Yang Haoren's ears, he was very sad because at that time he was truly honest and didn't think about pretending to be pressured in front of friends, but not everyone would think so. Because of this, he also learned some truths and understood that the heart is divided by the belly. You don't know what the other person is really thinking in their heart. You see the other person as a friend, but they don't necessarily see you as a friend. You think you just did what a friend should do, even if you suffered some losses, it wouldn't matter, but the other person may not necessarily appreciate it. Instead, it will make people feel that you are pretending to be a big-tail wolf. A true friend, a true friendship, requires time to settle, not just a few casual encounters that can be compared. The power of the road is known from afar, and the heart is seen from time to time. However, the man surnamed Liu at this time was not the same as Yang Haoren in the past, and Yang Haoren was not the same as him. He did not say anything cold to the man surnamed Liu, but smiled and agreed to the invitation. Okay. Let's go sit down at Guan Hai's place. Coincidentally, I haven't had enough to drink yet. Yang Haoren had a cheerful expression on his face. Guan Hai followed him all afternoon and didn't get a penny, so he definitely wanted to go to the bar to rush and consume for Guan Hai. Chapter 6. Inexplicable Coolness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan Hai runs this bar very small, with only a few tables, while he is a hands-off shopkeeper who has nothing to do all day and leaves everything to the manager to handle. He just comes to the bar every once in a while to settle the bill and count the drinks. Although the bar is not big, the environment is very good. When Yang Haoren and the others stepped into the bar, the only few tables were already overcrowded, and the business was very good. Apart from women, this small bar is the only source for Guan Hai to survive in this world. As soon as I stepped into the bar, Guan Hai was surrounded by several beautiful women who chattered incessantly at him, laughing and dancing excitedly. There was music playing in the bar, and the sound was not deafening, which would not affect the conversation and farting of the guests. However, after entering the bar, there was some distance between Yang Haoren and Guan Hai, so I didn't hear a few girls chattering to Guan Hai clearly. Without a seat, Yang Haoren sat down at the bar, ordered a bottle of beer, and drank it casually. The man surnamed Liu seemed to have completely increased his drinking power at this moment, with a flushed face and a shaky expression. He looked at the several women entwined with Guan Hai, his eyes straightening. "Brother Yang, please sit down first and I'll handle it before I come over." Guan Hai approached Yang Haoran and chuckled before speaking. When there was no one around, Guan Hai called Yang Haoran very casually, but when there were outsiders, Guan Hai usually called Yang Haoran Yang Gu. Yang Haoran looked disdainfully at Guan Hai and only said 2 words. "Get lost." At this moment, Guan Hai seemed excited by something and had no intention of arguing with Yang Haoran. After showing a smile that even a man could understand, he was forcibly dragged away by a few girls. The man surnamed Lu became extremely excited upon seeing this and quickly shouted to Guan Hai, "Hey hey hey, we're here together. Can you bear to leave me here alone? Don't worry, I'll treat you over and treat some European and American women to a drink." Guan Hai originally wanted to say that Yang Gu is still with you, isn't he? Unexpectedly, the man surnamed Lu immediately became close to a woman beside him. The woman was not very fond of the man surnamed Lu, but when she thought he was a friend of Guan Hai, she didn't say much, and Guan Hai naturally didn't say much. After all, he still wanted to kill the man surnamed Lu, so let him taste some sweetness first. So, the man surnamed Lu successfully squeezed into a group of women, making this guy so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. Yang Haoran saw all of this and couldn't help but look speechless. The man surnamed Lu had already been drinking very high and walking was a problem. But when he saw the beautiful woman, he immediately felt like he had been beaten with chicken blood, and his mother was full of vitality. This person, man, Yang Haoran sighed in his heart, smiled faintly, shook his head, and then ignored Guan Hai and the man surnamed Lu. He drank beer on his own, with a heavy heart on his face. Unconsciously, Yang Haoran drank a lot alone, with a slight drunkenness on his face. Sometimes people entered the bar, and sometimes left, both passing by him. However, he turned a blind eye, thinking about his own affairs and drinking his own wine. When a man stands at 30, it seems like I'm still far behind. I don't know if the path I've chosen is right or wrong. Is it really necessary to walk all the way to the dark? Yang Haoran asked himself in his heart. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel a little confused, unsure whether his persistence was right or whether he should continue to persist. In the current industry, pretending to be a ghost all day is not a long-term solution. Sooner or later, you will be exposed. If you encounter a real guy at some point, he will really win. He understands the truth that walking by the river often means not getting your shoes wet. Is it true that as long as a person works hard, they will definitely get what they want? Yang Haoran asked himself in his heart, but then he smiled bitterly and shook his head, looking somewhat helpless. His answer was naturally negative. Trying hard may not necessarily yield results, but if you don't work hard, will your life be easier? Yang Haoran suddenly had a funny idea in his heart. However, this idea had not yet taken root and sprouted, so he choked it to death in the bud. He was indeed disappointed with his current self, but had not yet reached the point of despair. In his heart, there was still a seed of hope preserved. In fact, it's not surprising that Yang Haoran felt melancholy after drinking. He's already 30 years old and has achieved nothing, let alone started a family and career. He's still a bit anxious because his starting point is very low, and he can't compare with his peers with high starting points. If he can't achieve anything more, he may only be able to go through his life in such a muddled way, and may even remain single all day, accompanied by a Chilean arm. After finishing his drink in one gulp, Yang Haoran put down his glass and felt a bit dizzy. He rubbed his temples and then took out his phone to check the time. It was already past 10 o'clock, and when he entered the bar, it was only around 9 o'clock. Unexpectedly, more than an hour had passed without realizing it. Damn it, that kid from Guan Hai must have completely forgotten about me now. Yang Haoran chuckled and cursed in a low voice, ready to leave the bar. However, at this moment, a beautiful figure passed by him, and his body couldn't help but tremble. The woman who suddenly passed by Yang Haoren was very beautiful, with a tall figure. Even though the lights in the bar were a bit dim, she could not conceal her stunning appearance and graceful figure. However, Yang Haoren's body suddenly trembled slightly, not because he was shocked by the woman's figure and appearance, but because as she passed by him, he suddenly felt a chill. It was this sudden chill that made his body shiver uncontrollably. The woman didn't notice Yang Haoren, just passed by him. The latter hadn't realized it yet. The former had already sat down in a position, and the table where she was sitting was exactly where Guan Hai was. Yang Haoren reacted and the coolness on his body disappeared with the woman's departure. He looked at the woman who had already sat down and shifted his gaze to the entrance of the bar, frowning slightly. It's winter now, and it's over 10 o'clock. The temperature outside the bar is naturally very low. Is the inexplicable coolness just now because the woman opened the door of the bar when she came in, causing the cold air outside to blow into the bar? Thinking of this, Yang Haoren couldn't help but laugh at himself with self-deprecation. It seemed that he was too engrossed in acting. It was a natural and normal phenomenon, and he was completely taken aback by him. He even wondered if he would become a lunatic if he continued to pretend like this. It seems like he drank too much, let's go back and take a big nap. Yang Haoren rubbed his temples again, ready to say hello to the waiter at the bar before leaving. However, at this moment, a woman stopped in front of him. Looking at the woman in front of him, Yang Haoren smiled kindly and said hello. He knew this woman and was a waiter at this bar. Due to his close relationship with Guan Hai and frequent visits to take care of business, the waiter, manager, and even regulars who often come to this bar knew him. Yang Gu, Guan Gu asked you to come and sit down. He can't pull up now, so he asked me to come and invite you. The waiter smiled and said to Yang Haoren. Yang Haoren's kind smile remained on his face, but he was cursing at Guan Hai in his heart. The bar was so small that he could hear it with just a shout. If it had to be so complicated, those who didn't know thought it was some big boss calling him in. However, Yang Haoren knew that the reason why Guan Hai did not do so was, of course, not wanting to shout and ruin his image in the eyes of beautiful women. Guan Hai once told him that if you want to pick a girl, you need to be bold and careful. The so-called courage is not to be shy, not to be afraid of everything, and not to lose face. The so-called meticulousness means paying more attention to details. Being careless is not enough. If a detail is not done well, it is likely to cause resentment from a beautiful woman and reduce one's image in the other person's mind. If it is done well, it will also leave a good impression in the other person's heart. If the details you handle happen to be what the other person cares about, then the impression left in the other person's heart will be even more profound. At present, Guan Hai was tightly entangled by several girls and couldn't escape. He didn't want to ignore his image and shout loudly, so he asked the waiter to come and invite Yang Haoren. Although Yang Haoren cursed Guan Hai in his heart, he didn't really get angry because he understood. Smiling and thanking the waiter, Yang Haoren walked towards the table where Guan Hai was located. He had no intention of continuing drinking, and the reason he walked towards the table where Guan Hai was located was just to say hello to him before leaving. As soon as Yang Haoren approached, Guan Hai grabbed him and gave a brief introduction to the beautiful women present with a happy expression on his face. Yang Haoren politely smiled at several beautiful women, including the one who had just passed by him. Reading www.uukeungshu.net. However, these beauties did not catch a cold towards Yang Haoren, just politely smiled back and no longer cared about Yang Haoren's life or death. Yang Haoren has long been accustomed to this. After all, he has an average appearance and figure, and is extremely poor. Even he cannot find anything attractive to girls from his own background, let alone others. Yang Haoren didn't care about the attitude of the beautiful women towards him. He looked at the man surnamed Liu who was already drunk and lying down, then looked at Guan Hai. Finally, he said to the several beautiful women at the table, "He's drunk, I'll take him back. Have a good time." Several beautiful women were not originally interested in Yang Haoren, but upon hearing his words, they immediately felt that Yang Haoran was particularly pleasing to the eye. For this drunken man surnamed Lu, the women were filled with disgust in their hearts. As soon as they arrived at the table, they took advantage of the alcohol and took advantage of it. If it weren't for Guan Hai, they would have kicked the man surnamed Lu away long ago. In order to calm down the man surnamed Lu, several beautiful women took turns to fight, each offering a full glass of toast, and after just one round, they directly overturned the man surnamed Lu. Although the man surnamed Lu had already been knocked over, he still made several women feel uncomfortable lying here. At this moment, Yang Haoran wanted to see him off and hit them right in the arms. However, at this moment, Guan Hai stopped Yang Haoran and said, "No need, I have already arranged his affairs. Please sit down first, I have something important to tell you." Without waiting for Yang Haoran's consent, Guan Hai dragged him to his seat. The position where Yang Haoran was sitting was opposite Guan Hai, with no one in the aisle on the left and a woman who had just entered on the right. As soon as Yang Haoran's buttocks sat down, to be precise, as soon as he approached the woman on the right, the coolness he had previously felt reappeared. Chapter 7. This woman has problems. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The sudden coolness in his body startled Yang Haoran's heart. He had woken up half of his drunkenness, and Guan Hai seemed to be saying something to him with a rich expression, but he turned a blind eye and turned his gaze to the location of the air conditioner. The air conditioning is on, so what's the coolness? Yang Haoran turned his head again and looked at the entrance of the bar. He saw that the door had been opened at some point, and a man was walking towards their position. Yang Haoran didn't pay much attention to this man. His gaze fell on the open door, and he couldn't help but feel puzzled. So coincidental. Is it because the door is open again? Yang Haoran was not quite sure in his heart. After all, he had drunk a lot of alcohol and felt a bit dizzy. The man who walked into the bar looked around and saw Guan Hai waving, then immediately walked towards the location where Guan Hai was. Guan Hai whispered a few words in his ear, and the man picked up the man surnamed Lu and left the bar. "Ladies and gentlemen, I will arrange for Lu Gu to stay at the neighboring hotel for one night first. He has left now, so you can relax and play. As for the expenses for this table, he has already paid in advance, so you must not worry about the expenses." Guan Hai chuckled and said to the beautiful women present with a smile. Guan Hai's words are naturally not well-intentioned, and the meaning behind them is very obvious. When someone pays the bill, you should open up your consumption and never save. No one here is a fool, so you can naturally understand the meaning behind Guan Hai's words. How sorry about that. We asked Guan Gu to come over for a drink, not for you to come and pay the bill. Yes, we all have money on us. How could you be too embarrassed to let your friend spend it, Brother Guan? Among the several girls, the two of them had a seductive smile on their faces. Although they said they were embarrassed, their expressions were full of joy. The man surnamed Lu, whom they despised, left and even paid the bill. According to Guan Hai's words, the man surnamed Lu seemed to have left a lot of money behind. How could they be unhappy? Don't be polite. When you come to me, you feel like you're going home. I naturally want you to feel the warmth of home, right? Besides, I brought 2 friends over, how can I drink your wine for free? You're still students and don't have much free money, so saving a little is just a little bit. If you're really embarrassed, just come and take care of my business again next time. Anyway, tonight, you'll have a good time, drink well, and don't worry about anything. After Guan Hai's words, several girls burst into joyful voices, raising their glasses to express gratitude to him. The girls sitting on both sides of Guan Hai kept rubbing against him, constantly hinting at him with their bodies. Yang Haoran saw all of this and his mouth twitched slightly. If the man surnamed Lu were still here and saw the scene in front of him, he might just spit out a mouthful of old blood. These guys were all his money, but no one said anything good about him. Instead, he kept thanking Guan Hai, as if he had completely forgotten about him. It was only because he was not angry that he was strange. All the beautiful women's attention was focused on Guan Hai. At this moment, Yang Haoren was probably not much different from the man surnamed Lu who had sat here before. They were all unnecessary beings, which made him neither stand nor sit, which was an embarrassment. Standing among the flowers, Guan Hai was already lost in thought, but he noticed Yang Haoren's awkward expression, which made him sigh in his heart, with a feeling of hatred that iron cannot turn into steel. What are you sitting there foolishly and not taking the initiative to attack at such a good opportunity? Can't you wait for the beautiful woman to take the initiative to find you? It's not unreasonable for you to be single. Take out your usual fighting skills with me, and I guarantee you will definitely have meat tonight. Guan Hai pulled Yang Haoren over and put his mouth in his ear, saying. Yang Haoren is usually eloquent, and his tricks of deceiving people are one after another, but every time he encounters such situations, he runs out of words and doesn't know what to say. In his opinion, he may have lost some courage and confidence. In the following time, Guan Hai accompanied and carefully introduced Yang Haoren one by one, praising him repeatedly and emphasizing that he was still single. With Guan Hai's thoughtful introduction and a round of toasts, Yang Haoren finally met these beautiful women. It's hard to say whether these women remember him or not. These beautiful women are all students from a certain university in Lekang. Yang Haoren did not inquire about their majors, but their alcohol tolerance is really not small. They do not often soak in wine jars, so they cannot practice such alcohol tolerance. After 3 rounds of drinking, everyone at this table except Yang Haoren had fun, including the woman who gave Yang Haoren a chilly aura. This woman's name is Wang Qing. She has a beautiful appearance, an excellent figure, and looks somewhat refined. She always exudes a scholarly aura, making her look like a cultured and quite elegant beauty. However, this was just surface level. After getting drunk, the true nature of Wang Qing, a beautiful woman, was exposed. She held a cigarette in her mouth and spoke various explicit words, repeatedly hinting at Guan Hai on the opposite side, completely ignoring the displeased gazes of the 2 beautiful women on both sides beside him. Guan Hai claimed to be a saint of love, but how could he not feel the warmth in Wang Qing's eyes? The 2 of them exchanged glances from time to time, indicating that they would inevitably have a bloody scene tonight. Yang Haoren frowned as he looked at it. At this moment, he was not jealous of Guan Hai, but rather he was sitting next to Wang Qing, with a cold and gloomy feeling that had always existed, which made him feel uncomfortable as if he had fallen into the ice cellar. Previously, he thought twice in a row that the cold air outside had blown into the bar, making him feel cold. However, now he has been paying attention for a long time. The door of the bar has not been opened again, and there has been no cold air blowing into the bar, but this chill still exists. Yang Haoren couldn't explain exactly what was going on, and his heart was filled with doubts. Is it a problem with the air conditioning? Yang Haoren thought to himself and immediately stood up, ready to check the air conditioning. You guys drink first, I'll go to the restroom. Out of courtesy, Yang Haoren greeted a few people, but apart from Guan Hai, there was no one mocking him. Yang Haoren was not angry either. He didn't take this matter seriously and left his seat to check the air conditioning. After a moment, Yang Haoren returned to his seat and his coldness struck again, making him shiver uncontrollably. After his inspection, he was able to confirm that there was no problem with the air conditioning in the bar, and once he left this table, the rest of the bar was quite warm under the action of the air conditioning, which couldn't help but create a strange feeling in his heart. In terms of exorcism and demonic powers, although Yang Haoren does not have any real skills, he has done enough homework to confuse truth with falsehood. He consults various materials in various ways, whether useful or not, whether true or false, he absorbs them all at once. It is precisely because of this that he knows more about supernatural powers than ordinary people and is much more respected. Although in the eyes of ordinary people, Yang Haoren's thoughts may seem a bit neurotic at this time, he is already in the industry and naturally much more sensitive than ordinary people. If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. I'm afraid there's something wrong with this woman. Yang Haoran's gaze fell on Wang Qing, his brow furrowed slightly, thinking to himself. After multiple checks and verifications, he can almost confirm that this cold and gloomy aura comes from this female college student named Wang Qing. Yang Haoran felt wary of this beautiful woman. He had originally sat next to her, but now he calmly distanced himself from her. Watching Guan Hai and this woman flirting, Yang Haoran knew they would definitely have a big fight tonight. He was a bit worried about Guan Hai, but he didn't know how to remind him. After thinking for a moment, Yang Haoran had an idea in his heart. He organized his speech and then, in front of the women, took out his phone. His expression suddenly became nervous and he stood up from his seat. Due to some violent movements, when getting up, my body touched the table, causing the wine glasses on the table to shake and spill a lot of alcohol. The sudden situation surprised several people at the table, and their eyes fell on Yang Haoran. Seeing Yang Haoran holding his phone with an anxious expression on his face, they knew without asking that something big had happened. Guan Hai's face changed and he apologized to the girls who tightly hugged him on both sides. He then gently pushed them away and quickly stood up, looking concerned and asking, "Yang, what happened?" Yang Haoran put away his phone with a worried expression and said to Guan Hai, "I'm afraid I'll ruin your mood tonight. I have some urgent matters that I need you to handle with me." Yu reading www.uukangshu.net. What's so urgent? Do you need to call some people? Guan Hai asked. Yang Haoran shook his head and said, "No need, just come with me." Upon hearing this, Guan Hai didn't even think about it. He immediately nodded and agreed, saying, "Okay, I'll go with you." After speaking, Guan Hai's gaze turned to several beautiful women, especially Wang Qing, and he smiled apologetically, "You guys drink first. I'll come back to you after I finish handling the matter. We must have a drink tonight." Upon hearing that Guan Hai would come back after handling the matter, the disappointment on the faces of the several beautiful women disappeared. They immediately smiled again, especially Wang Qing, who extended his tongue and licked his lips with an extremely teasing expression. He smiled and said, "Then we'll wait for you here. If you don't come back, I'll go to your house to find you." Wang Qing's words immediately displeased the other beauties at the table, but Wang Qing turned a blind eye and propped his chin with one hand, his gaze burning as he looked at Guan Hai. Guan Hai couldn't find any reason to refuse this kind of Chinese cabbage delivered to his doorstep. He smiled and was about to agree, but Yang Haoran spoke up before him. "I think you don't have to wait, he probably won't be able to come back tonight because we need to go back to my hometown," Yang Haoran said apologetically with a bitter smile on his face. Upon hearing these words, several beautiful women showed a disappointed expression on their faces again, while Guan Hai's expression changed and he quickly asked, "What's going on? Uncle and aunt have an accident." Yang Haoran's mouth twitched for a moment, and he cursed in his heart that Guan Hai's mouth was really poisonous. However, this situation is not the time to argue with Guan Hai. He did not admit or deny it, and quickly spoke up, "There's no time to explain, let's hurry back first." Chapter 8. I Can Raise Him. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Guan Hai is a promiscuous person in love, he really has nothing to say to Yang Haoran. When he learned that there was something wrong with Yang Haoran's family and that the big and white cabbage was on the tip of his tongue, he gave up decisively and immediately left the bar with Yang Haoran without saying a word. Guan Hai was about to drive, but was stopped by Yang Haoran. Yang Haoran only took out his shoulder bag from Guan Hai's car, and the two of them called for a taxi. However, when he got into the taxi, Guan Hai was confused. The address Yang Haoran reported to the taxi driver was not his hometown, but his residential area. The taxi started, and Guan Hai looked puzzled as he turned to Yang Haoran and asked, "Brother Yang, what else did you leave at my house?" Yang Haoran shook his head and said, "No." Guan Hai asked again, "What do you like about my family? We need to take it back to our hometown together." Yang Haoran shook his head again and said, no. Guan Haina was puzzled by Yang Haoran's answer, and he said. In this case, what are we going to do in our community? Aren't we going back to our hometown? Don't ask for now, you'll know in a moment. Yang Haoran didn't explain. Guan Hai is very clever. Seeing Yang Haoran like this, he knew that things might not be as simple as he thought. Since Yang Haoran didn't say much, he didn't continue to ask. In the bar of Guan Hai, Wang Qing and several beautiful college students seemed very uninteresting after Yang Haoran and Guan Hai left. They chatted one by one, without the lively atmosphere of Guan Hai's time. Do you think Guan Gu will come back? A beautiful woman asked, as if she hadn't given up yet. Didn't his friend say that he would go back to his hometown tonight, but he won't come back? By the way, what's his friend's name? A beautiful woman asked. It seems to be surnamed Li, and it seems to be surnamed Chao, I can't remember. Another beautiful woman recalled for a moment and spoke uncertain. Wang Qing sipped the wine in his glass while playing with his phone. He sneered and said disdainfully, it's just an uncle. He looks ordinary, has an ordinary figure, and doesn't know how to talk to girls to care about him. The key is that he doesn't have money yet. Even if you think of his name, what can you do with such a loser? Can't you fall in love with him? Upon hearing Wang Qing's words, several female college students all laughed and scolded Wang Qing for being so annoying, good or bad. The originally dull atmosphere was somewhat relieved by Wang Qing's words. Wang Qing, how did you know that uncle didn't have money? Do you know him? A beautiful woman asked with a smile. Wang Qingbai glanced at the woman, took out a cigarette, lit it on his own, took a sip, and sarcastically said, I also want to know him, but he needs to be qualified. His street vendors have completely exposed his financial conditions. If it weren't for being washed clean, I wouldn't have sat with him even if I had killed him. After a pause, Wang Qing flicked his cigarette ash and said with some emotion, the street vendors are always just street vendors, and they won't become famous brands just because they are washed clean. On the contrary, even if a brand is dirty, it is always a brand, and there are still people vying for it. Wang Qing's words clearly indicated something. Some of the other beauties understood, while others did not understand at all. Actually, that uncle looks pretty good. Even if he doesn't have money, at least he looks very honest. Coupled with his ordinary appearance, he will feel very secure when he is with such a person, and there is no need to worry about anyone harassing him. A beautiful woman said, saying so, but her face showed a chrysanthemum-like smile, clearly deceiving her. On hearing this, another beautiful woman's eyes brightened and immediately agreed. Yes, yes. It must be safe to fall in love with that uncle. Brother Guan is different. He is so handsome and has chased so many girls. It must be very tiring to fall in love with him. My family is poor and I have suffered from hardship since childhood. A dim sum is tiring and I can bear it. Otherwise, I will suffer a little. Brother Guan is a tough bone and let me chew it. Wang Qing, you go after that uncle. As soon as she said these words, the other female college students looked at her with unfriendly eyes. Seeing that the situation was not right, this woman chuckled a few times and quickly changed her mind, saying, why don't Wang Qing go pursue that uncle? Let's all come and eat Guan Haijia's tough bone. Whoever can eat it depends on their own abilities. How about that? Except for Wang Qing, the other few people loved to hear this and immediately started to coax Wang Qing to harm Yang Haoran and leave Guan Hai to them. In terms of appearance and physique, the few of them are quite inferior to Wang Qing. Previously, when Wang Qing and Guan Hai were flirting, they all looked at each other with envy in their hearts. They were originally classmates and knew a lot about each other. However, few men who were favored by Wang Qing could escape her clutches unless she was willing to give up on her own. At this moment, the few of them started to coax Wang Qing into giving up Guan Hai. Even though they knew it was impossible, they still wanted to give it a try. Wang Qingbai glanced at a few people and smiled sweetly. This smile, combined with her face, looked really pure, but the words spoken from her mouth were as sharp as knives. Not every man has the right to let me cause trouble. Either he has money and he supports me. Or he is handsome and I support him. Guan is very good. Although he doesn't meet my financial requirements yet, he is handsome and that's enough. I can support him, so you should give up early. As soon as Wang Qing said he wanted to raise Guan high, the smiles on the faces of the other beauties became strange. One of the beauties smiled and said, "You, like us, have not graduated yet, and we also know your family background. What are you using to raise Guan high?" Wang Qing's face suddenly didn't look very good, and his tone became a bit cold. He said, "How can I raise it? I have a plan in my mind, and you also have a plan in your mind. Why do you need to ask knowingly? Besides, aren't you doing it too? If you really want to say it, you and I are also peers. What are you pretending to be in front of me?" The atmosphere suddenly changed. Wang Qing felt unhappy, and the girl who was scolded felt even more angry. Others saw the situation and tried to make amends. Everyone drank a lot of alcohol, and if it were to cause trouble here, it would be small to hurt their feelings, but great to lose face. Someone advised, but neither Wang Qing nor the beautiful woman said much, but their eyes were full of hostility towards each other. A girl saw this and quickly changed the topic, saying, "Do you think Guan Hejia's bar is so cold?" The topic was shifted by her, and everyone else was taken aback. Then they all felt the coldness on their bodies, especially Wang Qing, who couldn't help but shiver. A few people had a hot atmosphere before, drinking a lot of alcohol, and with Guan Hai here, they focused all their attention on Guan Hai without feeling any coldness. Now that Guan Hai has left, they have some conflicts with each other, and this refreshing coldness instantly hits their hearts. "It's very cold, I didn't even feel it before." A beautiful woman shrank her neck and picked up her coat to put on. "Can it be that the air conditioning is broken?" Wang Qing frowned and said. "Who knows, forget it, let's go back first." "Anyway, Guan Hage won't come back tonight," suggested a beautiful woman. Her suggestion immediately received support from others. A few of them packed their things, picked up their bags, and hurriedly left the bar. However, none of them noticed that this inexplicable coldness emanated from Wang Qing. The taxi stopped, and Yang Haoren and Guan Hai arrived at the entrance of the community. Yang Haoren paid and then got off the car. Although Guan Hai didn't understand what Yang Haoren was up to, he also got off the car. "What's going on? What the hell are you doing? Didn't something big happen at home? What did you stop at the entrance of my community for?" Guan Hai was puzzled and asked Yang Haoren when he saw the taxi leave. Yang Haoren did not answer immediately, but took out a cigarette, handed it to Guan Hai, and lit one himself. After taking a deep breath, Yang Haoren spoke to Guan Hai and said, "Nothing happened at home. The reason I asked you to leave is because I don't want you to stay at the bar anymore." "Ah." Guan Hai lit his cigarette and exclaimed in confusion, "Don't stay at the bar. Why?" "To be precise, I don't want you to have too much entanglement with that female college student named Wang Qing," explained Yang Haoren. Upon hearing Yang Haoren's words, Guan Hai became interested and asked with a lewd smile, "Hee, you probably have taken a liking to him, right? If you like him, just tell me directly, and I will definitely give him to you without saying a word. Anyway, I don't want to eat so much. Why bother with such trouble, even acting or having an accident at home? I'll strangle him." "Don't even say that, you acted so well, even you deceived me." After taking a puff of smoke, Guan Hai continued to smile and said, "However, I don't think that female college student named Wang Qing is a fuel-efficient lamp. I can confirm this from her speech and behavior. If you fall in love with her, brother, I'm worried you might get hurt." "That's not the reason," Yang Haoren shook his head and spoke. Guan Hai looked at Yang Haoren with some surprise and saw his serious face. He couldn't help but wonder, "It's strange. Why didn't you argue with me? It's not like your style. Does this woman really have anything to do with you, or maybe she has a lot of connections and you don't let me touch her? She has nothing to do with me. I don't know if she has a big background. However, you didn't feel a cold chill on him when you were sitting there flirting with her before? Yang Haoran asked seriously. Guan Hai smiled and said, I didn't feel the chill, but I did feel a fiery heat in my heart. I need cold water to extinguish it. Unfortunately, my passionate desert finally appeared as an oasis, but you turned it into a mirage. Unfortunately, it's really a pity. As the words fell, Guan Hai seemed to have thought of something. His eyes lit up and he was pleasantly surprised, saying, by the way, they may not have left yet. I'll make a phone call to ask if it's still possible to get back now. Fortunately, he left his contact information quickly before. Yang Haoran didn't even think about it and immediately stopped Guan Hai. What's wrong? Your family is fine again. I haven't blamed you for deceiving me yet. You actually want to ruin my good deeds. Guan Hai was a little unhappy. That female college student named Wang Qing has a problem, you'd better not approach her, you have to trust me, Yang Haoran said seriously. Guan Hai was a bit embarrassed. Since he met Yang Haoran, he had never seen him so serious except when pretending to deceive others. However, at that moment, Guan Hai's phone suddenly rang. How many good sisters do you have? Why are each sister so haggard? Listening to the flirtatious ringtone, Yang Haoran couldn't laugh at all because as Guan Hai took out the phone, he could clearly see the caller ID, Wang Qing. This phone call is from Wang Qing. Chapter 9. Old Buildings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan Hai saw that the caller ID was Wang Qing, and his gaze turned to Yang Haoran, seeking his opinion. Yang Haoran took a puff of smoke and said, come on, let's just say we're still on our way back to the countryside. We definitely won't be able to come back tonight. Although Guan Hai was very reluctant, he still answered the phone, and Wang Qing's seductive voice suddenly rang from the other end. Brother Guan, have you arrived yet? No, not yet. Yang's hometown is a bit off the beaten track and it will take some time to arrive. Have you left the bar yet? Guan Hai smiled and spoke in a natural tone. How do you know that Brother Guan is really amazing? Did your waiter tell you? There is the sound of cars passing by over there, and my small bar is not very suitable for riding horses and driving, Guan Hai smiled. Oh my! Guan Goat is so annoying, I really like it. How about I go eat some more late-night snacks and bring some for you? You can take that one home and come back, I'll wait for you to come back and eat slowly. Wang Qing had something to say, and how could Guan Hai, a promiscuous lover, not hear any implied meaning? He suddenly seemed a bit excited. However, seeing Yang Haoran gently shake his head, he felt anxious and hesitated for a moment. Finally, he chose to believe Yang Haoran. No, let's reschedule. I definitely won't be able to come back tonight. You keep the dishes for me, and I'll come and taste them another day. Guan Hai's tone was full of regret and unwillingness, not because he pretended, but because he acted with his true colors. A tempting laugh came from the other end of the phone, and Wang Qing replied, okay, I'll be waiting for Guan Ji's call at any time. Don't stand me up. Hanging up the phone, Guan Hai looked disappointed, as if a piece of flesh had fallen off his body. Just looking at his expression, Yang Haoran could feel a wave of flesh pain. Haizi, although I don't know how to explain it to you, I always feel that there's something wrong with that woman, and I really feel the chilly chill on her body, and I can be sure it's emanating from her, so. Before Yang Haoran could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Guan Hai's hand and said, Brother Yang, I believe in you. We are brothers, and I can feel your sincerity. I know you are really afraid of me getting into trouble, so you don't need to explain. Even if you have taken a wrong look, it doesn't matter. At least I see that you haven't taken a wrong look. Guan Hai's words made Yang Haoran feel embarrassed. In fact, He felt that Wang Qing's problem was just intuition and there was no evidence. It was because of this that he wanted to explain it to Guan Hai clearly, but he didn't know how to explain it. Yang, you just said she has a cold and yin aura on her body. According to your statement, is she a ghost or not? Can you really see ghosts? Guan Hai asked curiously. When asked by Guan Hai, Yang Haoran didn't know how to explain anymore. He waved his hand and spoke helplessly, you should go back and rest quickly. I'll explain it to you when I have time. Anyway, remember my words, it's best to have less contact with her, and not to touch her. After finishing speaking, Yang Haoran lit another cigarette and walked alone towards the distance. Seeing this, Guan Hai quickly spoke up and asked, where are you going? Of course I went home to sleep, can't I go to the crematorium? Yang Haoran didn't look back and responded angrily. You have to call a taxi to go home, do you want to walk back? The voice of Guan Hai echoed behind you. It's not too far, walking back can still relax and sober up. Under the cold moonlight, Yang Haoran tightened his clothes and his figure gradually disappeared from Guan Hai's sight. After Yang Haoran's figure completely disappeared, Guan Hai took out his phone, flipped through his address book, and his gaze fixed on Wang Qing's string of numbers. That's right, this romantic prodigal hasn't given up yet and his heart is extremely restless. However, after hesitating for a long time, he looked at the place where Yang Haoran disappeared and ultimately didn't dial the number. He put his phone in his pocket and walked into the community. Walking alone on the way home, Yang Haoran's mind was filled with confusion, partly due to drinking too much alcohol, and partly due to Wang Qing. There must be a problem with Wang Qing's body, and he is certain of it. The reason why he is so certain is because the yin cold energy on Wang Qing's body is very special. It's winter now, and it's also midnight. The weather outside is definitely cold enough, but Yang Haoran is dressed thick and doesn't feel much cold outside. However, the coldness emanating from Wang Qing's body was different. It seemed to be a feeling that was not obstructed by clothes and directly cooled down to the bone, which was fundamentally different from the coldness brought by the weather. According to Yang Haoran's understanding and learning, the cold and gloomy aura emanating from Wang Qing's body should be yin qi, or ghost qi. The so-called feeling of yin in his mouth is to perceive this thing, but he is not sure if this so-called yin qi and ghost qi are really related to ghosts. After all, he is just a god, and no one can tell the true or false of things online. However, he still felt that it was right not to let Guan Hai get close to this woman. Whether Wang Qing exuded a ghostly or coquettish aura, getting close to her would definitely not bring good things to happen. He didn't want to start Guan Hai's business at any time, it would be so exciting. As he walked, Yang Haoran was lost in thought. Suddenly, he only felt a sudden chill behind his back, and a cold feeling spread from the soles of his feet to his head. His whole body was excited, his body stiffened in place, and his hair was almost on end. Familiarize yourself. A very familiar feeling. When approaching Wang Qing, Yang Haoran felt this cold and gloomy feeling. It had only been a while since then, and he naturally wouldn't forget this feeling. However, the coldness he felt at this moment was even stronger than what Wang Qing had brought him, much stronger, and the two were not on the same level at all. The fear in his heart made him dare not turn back to take a glance. It seemed that something was standing behind him at this moment, staring at him with a cold expression, treating him like a prey. His stiff body trembled slightly, and then Yang Haoran suddenly realized that he had arrived at a dilapidated old building without realizing it. Under the moonlight, the dilapidated old building looked like a fierce ghost with its teeth and claws open. It struggled to climb out of hell, opening its bloody jaws as if it was about to devour him in one bite. Yang Haoran felt a chill in his heart and cursed at how he had come here. He still didn't dare to turn back. His stiff body had inexplicable strength, and he scattered his feet to make a 100-meter sprint, as if trying to escape from this path. This path was not long, and Yang Haoran ran with all his strength. It took him 2 minutes to finally escape from the path. As he rushed out of this path, the cold and gloomy aura disappeared. He stopped, panting heavily, his feet trembling slightly, and his heart pounding, both tired and frightened. He turned around and could still vaguely see the old building under the moonlight. In the cold moonlight, the old building looked very eerie. Even if he just glanced at it from a distance, it made him shiver uncontrollably. Young Haren naturally knew about this old building. As long as he crossed the path in front of it, the street where he was located would not be far away. During the day, there are not many people and vehicles passing by this small path. Only two types of people ignore the old buildings on the side of this path and resolutely choose to take a shortcut to the street where they are located. These two types of people, one is outsiders, who do not know some of the thrilling stories of the old building, and those who do not know are fearless. There is another type of person, who is brave. They have naturally heard of some supernatural events related to this old building, but they are brave and do not believe in ghosts and gods, so they dare to pass by the path in front of the old building. However, this is only limited to the daytime. Once it reaches night, not only does the old building appear more eerie and terrifying, but even the small path outside the old building becomes eerie and eerie. Ordinary people, needless to say, dare not pass through this path. Even those two types of people who just mentioned, as long as they walk once at night, will never dare to walk again, because anyone passing through this path will feel a fear and coldness originating from the depths of their soul. Even if they are brave and do not believe in ghosts and gods, they will be startled by the environment and the coldness here. Over time, once it was evening, except for a few outsiders who passed by, no one would pass by the small path in front of the old building. Young Haren usually doesn't pass through this small path. Even during the day, he would rather take a detour than pass through here. As for the night, let alone at night, he doesn't want to get close to this place even if he dies. Tonight, due to drinking too much alcohol and having a heavy heart, he came here by a stroke of fate. If it weren't for the sudden chill that woke him up from the depths of his heart, he wouldn't even have noticed that he had arrived at such a haunted place. The reason why this place is so gloomy and terrifying is naturally due to its own horror stories. However, young Haren dared not recall various rumors about this old building, nor did he dare to recall various horror stories about this path. First, he was startled by the cold aura on Wang Qing's body, and then he was startled again here. Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.net. He is not an exorcist or a ghost-catching master, he is just a god without real abilities. He encountered such inexplicable things twice in a night, and that is for sure. After taking a few breaths, young Haren dared not stay here any longer. He trembled and took out a cigarette from his pocket, then quickly walked towards the location of his storefront. The sound of footsteps, panting, and the sound of pressing a lighter echoed through the street, making it seem hollow. Trembling hands pressed a dozen times in succession, but the lighter failed to light the cigarette. Young Haren felt a little nervous and restless in his heart. However, at this moment, a black shadow suddenly rushed out of him, scaring him into a scream. Ah! Young Haren's body trembled violently, his conditioned reflex leaped towards his back, and he ignored the cigarette he was holding in his mouth as it fell to the ground. His gaze looked at the black figure in fear. Under the streetlight, the sudden black shadow that shot past him was actually a large, fat black cat. Seemingly sensing young Haren's gaze, the big black cat stopped and looked at him, meowing in its mouth. Young Haren was so angry in his heart that he almost scared the beast to death. In a fit of anger, he threw the lighter in his hand and smashed it at the black cat. "You call me an egg? I'm scared to death." The lighter exploded when it hit the ground, and the black cat was startled, meowing and running out of sight. At this moment, a window in the residential building above the black cat suddenly opened, and a middle-aged woman with heavy makeup cursed at young Haren's position. "Those who don't sleep in the middle of the night are calling for trouble. Let no one do business. Drunkards go crazy, be careful not to get hit by cars." Chapter 10. My home is haunted. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The middle-aged woman's scolding not only did not make Yang Haran feel angry, but on the contrary, he breathed a sigh of relief. People who have not experienced such strange things may not understand Yang Haran's feelings at this moment. In this situation, as long as he can see a living person, it is a good thing for him, which can relieve his tense nerves to a certain extent. As for whether the other party is scolding or praising him, it doesn't matter. Of course, in the middle of the night, there were ghosts barking and lighters thrown at him. The person who was disturbed would definitely not praise him, and not a single beer bottle thrown at him would be considered good. After cursing a few words, the middle-aged woman slammed the window shut, wondering if it was because she was busy with what she called business or if there was something else to do. Yang Haran let out a heavy breath, licked his dry lips, and without saying a word, continued to briskly walk towards the location of his storefront. Upon returning home, Yang Haran felt relieved and his tense nerves were completely relaxed. Long walks at night will bring ghosts. I never expected this day to come so quickly, Yang Haran thought as he poured himself a cup of hot water. Yang Haran has a habit of playing with his phone for a while before going to bed, watching supernatural videos online, and flipping through some supernatural materials for his own learning and reference. However, tonight, he did not continue this habit. He was joking and was almost scared to death, leaving no mood to watch those. In fact, it's not surprising that Yang Haran is cowardly. As the saying goes, talented people are brave. Those who are brave almost have a few brushes and have a certain confidence in their abilities, but Yang Haran is different. He is just a god who can only deceive people and has no real ability. He is not afraid to be blamed. To put it bluntly, the former belongs to the bully category, while he belongs to the pretentious category, only slightly better than a fool. Another point is that Yang Haran was scared a lot because he had more exposure to this area, the more he knew about various supernatural events. Once he encountered an inexplicable event, his brain would compensate for it on its own, and he naturally had a fear of this unknown thing. After drinking a cup of hot water, listening to a few cheerful songs, and smoking a few cigarettes, his overall condition finally recovered. My home is still too cold and quiet. Let's find a chance to get a dog back to raise. No, let's get two. With them around, I can also have a companion, Yang Haran planned in his heart. Why do you plan to keep a dog instead of a cat? Hee, I was startled by that big black cat tonight. Now that he sees a cat, he has an impulse to beat it up. How could he possibly keep such a pet? Moreover, when a cat chirps, it's very annoying, like a baby's cry. Listening to it in the middle of the night makes people feel uneasy. Thinking in his heart and planning in this way, he took advantage of the lingering alcohol and fell asleep in bed with his brain in a daze. He didn't sleep soundly during this night, having various nightmares all night long. He was even awakened once in the middle, and then remained in a state of half-sleep and half-wake, which made him very distressed. After an unknown amount of time, in a daze, he seemed to hear someone knocking on the door. At first, he thought it was just an illusion that he had heard wrong, so he ignored it and continued to sleep with a thick blanket covering his head. But knocking on the door not only did not stop, but also increased the intensity and frequency slightly. This time, even if Yang Haran covered his head with a blanket, he could hear clearly that someone was indeed knocking on the door. As soon as this rolling shutter door is knocked on, there is a loud noise. With just a little force, the noise becomes even greater. Not to mention that Yang Haran is half asleep and half awake at this moment. Even if he sleeps like a dead pig, he will definitely be awakened by the sound of this rolling shutter door. Yang Haran felt angry in his heart. He didn't know who was pounding hard all the time. Feeling somewhat unhappy, he shook off the blanket that was covering his head and picked up his phone from the pillow to take a look. This look left Yang Haran stunned for a moment. I'm going, it's almost 12 o'clock, and I've been sleeping for so long in a daze, Yang Haran muttered with some disbelief. As he got up and left the blanket, he shivered with cold. Hastily putting on his clothes, Yang Haran responded to the knocking outside while walking towards the rolling shutter door. Here it is, who is it? As the words fell, he had already arrived at the rolling shutter door. Without hesitation, he pulled it up. The weather outside today was nice and sunny. When Yang Haran's body came into contact with the sunlight, he couldn't help but close his eyes and extended his hands to block them. There was a person standing outside the rolling shutter door, but due to discomfort in his eyes, Yang Haran did not immediately see who the person was, and even did not distinguish whether the other person was a human or a beast. After closing his eyes several times, Yang Haran finally adapted and saw who it was. The person who came was a girl. She had an anxious expression on her face, but when she saw the rolling shutter door open, a hint of a smile appeared on her anxious face, which was somewhat forced. "Hello Master Yang, Before the woman could finish speaking, Yang Haran yawned and asked, "What do you want to buy?" No, I'm not here to buy anything," the woman quickly waved her hand and spoke. "Didn't you come to buy something?" Yang Haran looked puzzled and gave a bitter smile before asking, "Why are you knocking on the door so urgently?" As he spoke, Yang Haran took down a bottle of beverage from the shelf, unscrewed the bottle cap, looked up, and started pouring heavily. After drinking too much, he became particularly thirsty after waking up, and even wanted to drink something sweet. Although doing it like this would hurt his stomach, it was very refreshing. "I'm here to find Master Yang to exorcise ghosts. My house seems to be haunted." Puff. Yang Haran heard the woman's words and took a sip of the drink, choking his mouth and nose. The woman saw the situation and quickly took out a tissue and handed it to Yang Haran. The latter vaguely thanked him, took the tissue and wiped it clean. After wiping it clean, Yang Haran carefully looked at the girl in front of him. The woman looks young, only 16 or 17 years old. She is not tall, only about 1.5 meters tall, with a petite figure, fair skin, and a cute doll face. However, now this face looks very haggard, with big black circles in her eyes, which is clearly caused by not resting well. The woman was awkwardly looked at by Yang Haran, and a faint smile barely appeared on her haggard face. "What did you just say? Is your house haunted?" Yang Haran confirmed. Upon hearing Yang Haran's words, the forced smile on the woman's face immediately froze. She was stunned for a moment and then reacted. She quickly nodded at Yang Haran and said pitifully, "My house is really haunted." "Oh no, it's not my house, it's my rented house that's haunted. It's very scary. Master Yang, you must help me." Upon hearing this, Yang Haran did not give a positive or negative answer. Instead, he smiled and said, "Please sit here for a while, I'll wash myself up before coming out. You can tell me more about it later." The woman originally wanted to say something more, but upon hearing Yang Haran's words, she did not stop him. After all, at this moment, Yang Haran looked very messy, with messy hair, like a beggar. To be honest, at this moment, Yang Haran's image is somewhat similar to that of this woman. It's true that the woman has dark circles under her eyes, but Yang Haran, who hasn't slept well all night, also has dark circles under her eyes, but it's not as heavy as the woman's. After all, Yang Haran just didn't sleep well last night, and the woman probably hasn't slept well for a long time. Apart from dark circles under his eyes, Yang Haran, who had not slept well all night, looked tired. In the short time he spent with the woman, he had already yawned several times. In contrast, although the woman did not yawn repeatedly, her face was already haggard and looked very lifeless. Yang Haran walked into the green curtains and started to wash up with a loud sound. The woman didn't sit outside, but waited anxiously. Fortunately, Yang Haran didn't let her wait too long. In less than 10 minutes, Yang Haran walked out of the curtains. Although dark circles under his eyes are still visible, Yang Haran looks much more energetic than before. "Have you eaten yet?" Yang Haran asked the woman. Upon hearing this, the woman did not speak, only shook her head. I arrived here before dawn, and because it was too early, I didn't knock on the door. I was afraid it would disturb your rest, so I waited until noon. Seeing that you hadn't opened the door yet, I thought you weren't at home. The reason I knocked on the door just now was just a stroke of luck. I wanted to confirm if you were at home, so it's like this, Yang Haoren said as he took 2 buckets of instant noodles from the shelf and spoke, I don't have anything good here. It's too late to cook now, so you can just make do with it first. The woman did not refuse, and she was indeed very hungry, so she looked a bit embarrassed and apologized. I invited the master to eat together. I'm really sorry to disturb the master today. As she spoke, the woman took out a 10 yuan new currency from her bag and quickly handed it to Yang Haoren. The latter didn't take it and said with a smile, it's just a bucket of instant noodles. You don't need it. If you want to add ham, then I'll have to charge. The woman's haggard face showed a faint smile, which was not forced out, but from the bottom of her heart. She was amused by Yang Haoren's words. Then I'll add a ham, and I'll also add one for the master, said the woman as she prepared to take out money from her bag again, but was stopped by Yang Haoren. No need, the store is out of stock. We'll just make do with it and deal with your affairs, Yang Haoren said. The woman originally wanted to persist, but when she heard that Yang Haoren had to deal with her affairs after eating, her face changed and fear flashed in her eyes. She didn't continue to persist and nodded lightly.